Hello, EDU 5557. Just want to say hello from my daughter, hence the unicorn. I'd like to introduce you to Daniel Haynes, who is agreeing to talk with us today for recruitment, retention, and advisement. So thank you very, very much for joining me for an interview today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we will just get started. Can you share a little bit about yourself, like your major, you're in college, things that you've done while you were in college and your plans for next year?
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Haynes. As Cecilia just said, I am a senior in university. I'm a journalism major, and I'm an international student from Georgetown, Guyana. While I've been in college, I've been a part of the Discover New York program, which is something that we do for first year students in college. We, as peer leaders, we liaison with professors to take students to sites around New York City, which align with the course material or their whatever they're talking about in DNY. Uh, Prior to everything happening right now, I was a resident assistant. I was the senior resident assistant for the Founders Village at St. John's, as well as Carey, which housed both juniors as well as seniors. I worked in the Office of International Admissions as a student worker, and I was a member of the President's Society, as well as I was involved with the National Society of Leadership and Success. Next year, what my plans included, well, grad school is an option, but I'm looking to also perhaps work for 1 year using my OPT and get some experience in, well, some more experience in the journalism world.
And what is OPT?
So OPT is optional practical training, or I think, or optical. I can clarify that right now. I actually just got an email from our ISSO office at St. John's. So I'll tell you exactly what OPT is in 1 second. So OPT is, sorry for the wait. Yeah, optical practical training. Yeah, as I said. So OPT essentially, after you graduate from whichever level of degree that you're doing, whether it's a bachelor's, a master's, or a PhD, you're eligible to work 1 year in the US in your field of study to gain experience before you either stay in the US to continue working or head back to your home country, depending on what you want to do.
Gotcha. Thank you. So you seem to have taken advantage of all that St. John's has to offer and have really kind of positioned yourself to be a student leader. So why did you choose to be so engaged on campus and what helped with that?
I think what helped, well, coming into school, I came in to my freshman year at 21. So I had a bit more life experiences on my belt, and I knew what I wanted to do when I got to campus. And I thought that getting involved in student leadership positions allowed me to, one, expand my network, but also give back to the institution in ways that could have run-on effects for other students. So I thought that if I was able to influence one student or impact one student, they can then go on to influence another student and just continue that process of giving back. So that was what it was for me.
Those things.
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit. Could you repeat that for me, please?
Oh, sure. I was asking, so are there things or pieces of advice that you would give to staff who support student leaders that can help others be inspired to do the same?
I would definitely say have open communication. Something that I've experienced while working as a DNY peer leader was that the program coordinator, who at the time was Sadiq Mohammed, he really had a very hands-on approach with peer leaders. He encouraged us to be our best selves as well as showed us what to do. So there was that open line. You can always drop into his office and talk about not just stuff relating to being a peer leader, but life stuff as well. So I think one of the major things is having that open communication and uh, being a bit more human, if that makes sense, because through those human interactions, you get a better sense of one, who the person is that is helping you, as well as how you can then go on to impact others. Also, what I would say is also be honest and transparent, which is something that definitely helps.
Absolutely. Thank you. So,
Definitely.
talk about some of the challenges that you or maybe your peers have faced now that we are in the middle of this pandemic and you're moving to online coursework. Can you talk about what that experience has been like?
It's been very brutal, if I'm being honest, especially as an international student. I'm not able to return back home due to the borders being closed. So there's that pressure of wondering what's going to happen next while trying to do online courses, as well as honestly find the motivation to do work, because I'm a student that, for me, being in a classroom in an environment where it's controlled and you're able to ask questions and get or just listen to everyone and be in that setting that is very, very rigid to an extent really helps with how I learn. So
Mhm.
online learning and not having that set structure has been a bit difficult for me in terms of eliminating distractions. Some of my peers also, I know my friends have been saying that waking up on time for class, now that there's no physical class, has also been a stress for them.
Mhm.
Because if they don't set that alarm, or well, since we're not at school, they know that all right, well on Tuesday I have a class at 9 a.m. So they tend to sleep in a bit more since they're not within the school system environment, if that makes sense.
It does. You know, I myself find myself going, what time is it? My schedule is all over the place. And so sometimes that means you're working a lot, and
Yeah.
sometimes you're not getting much done all. It of that you feel and other could do to help support students through this time? What suggestions would you offer?
I would say, once again, it goes back for me for communication, because I haven't gotten a lot of communication from some faculty as well as administrators, and that in between with not knowing what's going on or not knowing what to do next, that's been difficult. And I think that most of my friends as well have been feeling that the silence that has come from campus being transitioned to being online and not getting that frequent communication or being able to set up their advisement reports on time for them. So for me, I think being checking in is something that is very important, because it means a lot to see faculty check in, and it shows that okay, it wasn't just, well, you come to my class and I give you this information and you take this away. It feels as we're a bit more than numbers that help to make up a class, and it
Mm,
feels like we're actually people and students that are learning and exchanging knowledge and experiences.
absolutely. I think that it's so important for us to think about how we can communicate. And one of the things that I have found is that everyone is trying to curate these responses,
Yeah,
that don't that are soft, so that
yeah,
there's no consequence. But I think that what students and faculty and administrators need are just really honest responses, even the I don't know yet, but
yeah, yeah,
here's the information that I do have. And so, in terms of keeping those lines of communication open, I really can appreciate your point, because I don't need the formal
yeah,
from the university to be finished. I just need to know what I need to know for my
yeah.
classes and to pass information on to my students right now.
Yeah. And especially as it relates to like what grading systems look like. And there's also that worry, especially for me, that all right, well, I'm dealing with so much that's on my plate with being stuck in a country that while I did come to study, I'm still not able to leave at will. And I'm in housing now and there's no one really around me. I'm in a suite by myself and with social distancing happening. there's a bit of me, I think I've been struggling a bit with my mental health in the sense of not being able to interact with people on a daily basis and going from being in an environment where I'm around my peers, I'm around educators, I'm around faculty, administration, like now where I'm not in that, it's a bit difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And just like you said, like having that person just say, well, I don't know what's happening, but what I do know is this. And like for me, I rather have that than have nothing at all.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, this the second semester of your senior year upside down.
Yes.
I'm sorry. This is a time, this is a time
Yeah.
it's supposed to feel very differently, and I do want to acknowledge that. Has this started to impact your plans for what happens in the future?
Uh, yeah, definitely. So I applied to grad school at St. John's. I actually was it yesterday? Yesterday, yeah, I got my acceptance decision. So I was
Congratulations!
really
Oh
happy.
my gosh. That's
Thank you, thank
wonderful.
you, thank you. But now I'm wondering with what's happening now. Well, next semester is school going to be open? Well, with the news projecting that the pandemic is going to peak in May, then for me it's like, what does August, September look like? And then with as an international student, my I-20, which is the document that allows me to be in the US, that expires in May. So it's like, oh well, I don't know what I'm going to do next. And so I've been the last few days just sending out job applications after job applications, just trying to get something a bit more secure and stable in the sense that I know that, all right, if the next semester for grad school ends up being online learning again, then I have to think about, do I stay in the US while I'm doing that online learning? Do
Mm,
I do I head back home? Will the borders of my country be open? Like,
mhm,
so it's just so many different variables to consider that I don't have an answer for right now, and that's causing a bit of stress.
mhm,
So, and also with the job markets declining and slowing with people being laid off and more unemployment expected to come, that then impacts, will I be able to get a job or am I stuck? And it's that feeling of being stuck is something that I'm very, very scared of because I don't want to be stuck. I want to, and that's the most difficult part of the uncertainty of the pandemic.
mhm. And it's at odds with what education is supposed to be, which is to increase freedoms, right?
Yes,
And so we're in
yes.
a situation where the opposite is happening, and it's definitely a challenge to navigate through that.
Yeah.
What do you think? So we talked about communication. Um, do you think that potential students who might be dealing with some of the same things are reconsidering enrollment in college, maybe even as first year students, or continuing um, as upper?
Yeah, I do think so because if not being able to be in a physical classroom, well, like most of my friends, we came to university to be in a classroom because if we wanted to do online learning, we would have stayed back home and done
Mhm,
online learning. But coming to college was a very huge step, both financially as well as just thinking educationally. So I think a lot of first year students will look at what's happening now and think, well, is it worth it spending all this money to go to college? Or will I be able to get a scholarship with will schools have their budgets cut? What exactly is going to happen? And well, does it make more sense to try to get a job doing something? Well, at least I know that I'm getting money in my pocket versus going to school and that might not happen. So I think it is causing a lot of people to reconsider, and I actually was speaking to one of my friends back home who was thinking about coming to the US
mhm,
in September to start school. And he's like, well, I don't know what that looks like now.
mhm,
If that's something that I'm going to continue to do, or if I'm just going to continue working and doing what I'm doing now. So it's definitely forcing a reevaluation of what the next steps educationally look like.
mhm, mhm. So what are other important things that, academic advisors right now are also learning to work in this remote environment? What can they do to support, well, all students, but then specifically, I'm thinking about the unique challenges that many of our international students are facing, our students who are going into graduate school or trying to make that step. Do you have any advice for those folks?
Um, I would say definitely lead person first, in the sense of trying to understand the challenges that that student is facing and the concerns that they may have. And I think it's easy to get lost in the semantics and the structures of what this looks like and forget about the human component, in the sense that, all right, well, yeah, we're trying to get all these systems in place, but at the same time, what does that look like for you? And I think listening more is something that definitely needs to be done, because if if those academic advisors aren't listening and hearing the stories and perspective behind the students, then they're not going to be able to properly advise students.
I think I was reading something around the pedagogy of care, right? And I think it speaks to exactly what you're describing. Yes, we have these sheets with course numbers and description, but we're not in a situation, we're never in a situation where one size fits all, but even more now, it's so important to listen and make sure the individuals are heard and try and figure out solutions. One final question, if you can think back over your career at St. John's, can you tell me a bit about how your experience has been working with academic advisors and just overall how you have felt that has impacted your academic career?
Okay, going back in my freshman year, when I came in the spring semester of 2017, and I had a very lovely advisor who helped me start out my first set of classes. Her name is Miss Betsy Rodriguez, if I'm remembering that correctly. If not, I'm very sorry. But she really sat down and took that interest in, all right, well, you're not living on campus right now, so I don't think having a class that ends at 10 p.m. is a very good option for you. And she helped me start out that schedule along with the core classes that I had to take. Moving into my sophomore year, from sophomore year, I started dealing with my dean. So I think that the challenge is, again, having that more personal advisement with a student when you're dealing with so many students on a daily basis. Just this semester, when I was going in to get my advisement, the person that was giving me the advice called me by the wrong name. So like for me, that was like, all right, well, I guess it doesn't feel that personal anymore. And I feel like, okay, well, are you telling me everything that is catering towards what I'm telling you? Since like if you don't even remember what my name is and I got called David instead of Daniel, then it doesn't feel as personal. And I lost interest in listening to what he was saying after being called the wrong name. Yeah.
Right. That's a huge point. Because and we all have large caseloads and students have a lot to deal with as well, but being able to feel that in that half an hour or 15 minutes, an individual is going to focus on you and your needs. And if you're not getting that from the door, it's very easy to tune out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. This has been a really great conversation. And we are going to upload the video and to EDU 5557. Please feel free to leave questions so you can learn more from Daniel. He's a fantastic student leader and just really great overall person. So if you'd like to engage in the conversation, please feel free to leave questions in the discussion box. He's graciously agreed to answer those for us in the week to come. And so that's all for now. Take care.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.